While VR has always had its super well-made titles, more often than not, you're running into the simple indie games that more often than not aren't actually that fun. Hey, I'm not talking about any specific game. Who am I, the guy who's constantly complaining about something? Oh, I said that? While we have the obvious titles like Alex, or if you look even a small amount into VR gaming, Boneworks and Bone Lab, if I had to show someone a VR game for the first time, a game that would ultimately introduce them into VR gaming, what would I choose? So here's how we're going to structure this. First things first, to state the obvious, I'm not going to cover Alex or the Resident Evil VR port. Not that they're bad games, but these are clearly obviously AAA games that are in VR, but hey, we're not here to talk about the Arnold's of VR. I'm not saying his last name for obvious reasons. Second thing, this has to be both on Steam and Quest. We are one, and also we are one. There's no joke. They sent it to me and it's sick as subscribe to see that review. God damn. Ran out of fucking breath on that one. Now, if you didn't know, AAA games are defined by when a game has a mid to large size publisher, which also means higher development and marketing budgets. So basically, it means f all. This is my list of what I would say are the AAA standards of VR games. If you have other games in mind or point out a game I don't mention, comment it below. So we're going to come out with a game a lot of you already know, and some of you might not agree with its placement on this list, but first things first. If you want the militaristic, guns-blazing multiplayer fun of Call of Duty, you cannot go wrong with Pavlov. I know I've given the game a ton of shit before, trust me, I get annoyed with myself too, but why would I pick Pavlov over Contractors or Breachers or Veil even? Contractors I believe to have almost everything down. The mods, the guns, it feels and looks great to play, but I'm pulling the seniority card. Back in my day, the most popular headset was the HTC Vive. If you're wanting to play or develop a first-person shooter in VR, Pavlov should be the standard of what you should expect. Other games are good titles, but this is what I would consider to be the standard of a VR shooter. Yes, I have talked about Pavlov in the past, but it's still a good game. Tell me you have a punishment kink without telling me you have a punishment kink. While Contractors might have more mods, especially since the Pavlov's Unreal Engine 5 update that ultimately broke every mod the game had going for it, I personally like the weaponry in Pavlov more. Keyword there, personally. Don't look at me, I wear VR headsets on my face every day. Compared to Breachers, I'm obviously not going to compare the weaponry detail in Breachers against Pavlov because it's like comparing the difference between an iPhone and a f***ing tank. Love you, Triangle Factory. I still play Breachers every day. And Veil? We don't need to talk about Veil. Pavlov shines the most with its community-based content. Of course, now that we're running mods out of Mod.io instead of Steam, if you had a favorite Pavlov mod, there's a likely chance it's not working anymore. I personally loved all the Call of Duty maps like Nuketown, but guess who can't play those anymore? Davils, who do you think you are? What do you think you are, huh? You think you're handsome and hot and handsome? So to reiterate, Pavlov is the base standard of a VR FPS game with mods and gunplay that's truly unrivaled by anything else. But Viewie, what if I want really satisfying guns, a story mode, and endless waves of zombies? What do you got for me there? After the Fall is personally one of my favorite zombie shooters in VR, and that's saying a lot because we all know how many horde shooters that we got in VR. We got demons, zombies, f***ing clowns. Dude, I'm about to go f***ing swimming in this bit. After the Fall's main game mode is the Harvest Run, where you have to traverse your way through the map Left 4 Dead 2 style. A group of 4 runners who can either be bots or your friends through crossplay multiplayer, where you have to collect juice from the simple soy boys or the Giga Chad Alex Eubank looking zombies. Along the way, you find stopping points to deposit floppy drives and purchase health shots or boosters to shoot faster. After the Fall has received numerous updates over its lifespan, and the game's developer, Vertigo Games, clearly has experience making zombie shooters like Arizona Sunshine and now Arizona Sunshine 2. The gun customization in this game is crazy. Hand handles, suppressors, scopes. Practically everything is customizable with different skins that give the game a nice sense of progression since you don't actually have to pay for any of these. Just a grind to flex off at the latest Viewie skin on the shotgun. That's not actually a thing, but hey, Vertigo Games, you looking for some fun? Haha. Hey baby. Seriously though, if you haven't tried After the Fall and you like the gameplay loop of Left 4 Dead, you should seriously consider picking this up. It's gameplay, customization, and story all combined to make a memorable experience in VR. And especially with friends, there's a ton of content to be had here.
You sure about that? You sure?
Now this one was hard for me. I was going to write about Vertigo, but that's on PC VR only. Into the Radius is a solid choice, but I've talked about the game to death at this point. But what about a sandbox? Something to just f around in for hours. For the longest time, I didn't talk about Blade and Sorcery. Not that it's a bad game by any means, but sandboxes don't really have a whole lot to talk about besides what's up to the imagination. Blade and Sorcery is the best sword fighting game out there. You could substitute this spot for something like Hellsplit or Grimlord if you have a PC, but for the Quest 2 user and PC VR standpoint, this game is the go-to melee-based fighting game for me. While the Quest 2 port I've heard isn't nearly the same as the PC VR version, it still looks to have all the same combat systems as the original version, so I can only imagine it would still be fun. Now, originally I was going to say Bone Lab since obviously that game was fucking massive before it dropped, but while Bone Lab does have more story and minigames, Blade and Sorcery takes the cake when it comes to sandbox elements since that's what its primary focus was from the start. So really, you could just substitute this spot for your favorite VR sandbox. I picked Blade and Sorcery because I've been popping in there more recently. I just love flipping around a dagger and then going for the kill, but I'll leave this one up to you. There's probably a ton I'm forgetting. Let's be real here. There's a number of games you could have swapped out for any of these. And I didn't even talk about the AAA games that got VR ports like Borderlands 2, Doom, Skyrim, or Fallout. But that's definitely a video I'll have to make. Thank you to our mega rich patrons, Wes, Greg, Gain, Denasi, Vexy, and Only Mints. And of course, thank you to our budget-friendly patrons as well. If you want to support the channel, please check out the Patreon below. Just wait till Alex gets a quest port. That's gonna make Roblox VR look good.